Welcome back. And today we have a very special edition of Tech Check. We've spent a lot of time, as you know, exploring unique startups and different organizations around Pakistan. And today we wanted to spend a little extra time highlighting an organization I discovered lately that's been doing some really great work on the ground in Pakistan, but they're pretty quiet about it. So we thought, let's make sure people understand who these folks are and what they're doing. And with that, I'd like to invite the core team of Karandaaz Pakistan to Tech Check today. How is everybody today?
Well, thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So without further ado, as we always do in the Tech Check style, I'd like to introduce our Chief Digital Officer for Karandaaz, REHAN AKHTAR, Ms. MEHR SHAH, and Ms. SHUMAILA RIFAQAT. And with that, I'd like to kick it off with Rehan. Can you give us a little overview of what Karandaaz is about and what you're trying to achieve in Pakistan?
Sure. Thank you for having us in this talk. So Karandaaz Pakistan is an entity which was created 3 years ago, not a long time ago. It was created by UK, which is now known as FCDO. And we have received funding from FCDO, as well as then Gates Foundation joined in to run a program which is specific to digital financial services. Overall, the vision of the company is to have financially included and economically empowered Pakistanis. And with the funding that we have received from the 2 donors, what we do is we try to solve broadly access to finance issues when it comes to SME. And there are many ways to do that. And we have different programs which address that. We also then focus on removing access to finance issues or barriers to access to finance for individuals, for which we run a digital program that we do. And then, of course, we have a focus on knowledge and gender and women entrepreneurs with, the great ladies of Karandaaz spearhead and lead and we'll talk about.
Wonderful. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. That's a good overview and a mission, I'm sure, that very much needed in Pakistan. And hopefully we're making some good strides with you guys. And so just moving along, SHUMAILA, can you give us a little bit of focus on your area at Karandaaz?
Sure. So under the overall agenda of financial inclusion and economic empowerment that Rehan has just explained, Karandaaz Innovation focuses on market innovation through the Innovation Challenge Fund. So we support innovative ideas that solve access to finance issues for SMEs and individuals. And the other big component is Women Ventures, whereby we provide growth capital to women-led businesses, and we also give them business development support so that they become successful businesses and they can demonstrate to the overall financial sector that they are commercially viable businesses that should be supported.
Excellent, excellent. Very good to know. And Meher, how about on your side?
Well, I oversee the knowledge management and communications vertical at Karandaaz. We basically have a cross-organizational view. So when Rehan mentioned funding from UK Aid and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we look at Karandaaz's programs that are supposed to improve access to finance for small and medium enterprises, and also improve access to finance by leveraging digital solutions in Pakistan. So the knowledge management and communications team, as the name suggests, is the research arm of the organization. We've done quite a bit of research on specific sectors in the country, so the transport sector, the medical diagnostics sector. Then we've also done a lot of work on the policy side. So we're just about closing out a project with the State Bank, where we have developed a regulatory framework for digital banks in Pakistan, and a number of other regulatory aspects that we've been working with the regulators on. So the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan and the State Bank of Pakistan.
Now that's very interesting, and I'd like to, if you're okay with that, I'd like to drill down into that a little more. So Can you share with the audience and myself, what is the impact of this project?
Well, the impact is something which we monitor based on metrics that have been specified for us by our donors. Shumaila can speak more on that because she heads the monitoring and evaluation vertical also.
Okay.
But you know, we have recently launched items like projects like, for example, the data portal. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we launched that earlier this year.
Okay.
And just to improve policy making in the country, we feel it is imperative for everybody to have access to data in a timely way, in a way where they can drill down into it and, you know, sort of layer various statistics, so that we don't have a two-dimensional view of access to finance. So, you know, those are the type of projects that we've been working on, but I will hand over to Shumaila to talk more on the impact aspect.
Great.
So impact we're measuring through a results framework that we've agreed with our sponsors. So in that we've got commitments on job creation and revenue, and then we drill it down under, you know, large investments, small investments, microfinance, as well as institutional sustainability of Karandaaz itself, because we don't see ourselves as a project. It is a project commitment, but we see ourselves as a sustainable entity that will continue beyond this project as well, which ends in 2024. So in terms of revenue and job creation for every segment, be it SME, be it the tech-based work that we're doing, be it women-led businesses that we are supporting, or microfinance, we have very specific annual revenue targets, revenues that these businesses would generate, job creation targets, and as well as additional financing that these projects will leverage from the ecosystem at large. Other than that, we also measure impact of our interventions through third-party sources as well, whereby we see what is the on-ground impact on these businesses, how are they evolving, what is the impact of the project, particularly on the tech side, on the corporate investment side, as well as the ICF, which is the Innovation Challenge Fund, and Women Ventures side.
Great, good. And just, you know, kind of, and I like it because, you know, you guys you are taking a very data-driven approach to the impact you are having.
Farooq, if you allow me to add to that,
sure, please do.
What Meher and Shumaila has mentioned, I think it's important for your viewers as well to understand why Karandaaz was created.
Right.
So the main reason is there's a market failure, and you know, the market failure could be defined or articulated in my opinion in following ways. While we have a growing population, the participation of economy, the formal economy, the participation of financial services or banking services in the formal economy is very, very low. So we are one of the very few countries in the world comparable to, you know, our own sort of third world sort of, if you want to call it, who have a very low number or statistic when it comes to banking playing the role of working with entrepreneurs, with SMEs, or for that matter, individuals, and linking them to the formal sector.
Got it.
And one of the issues that has been highlighted and talked about again and again for so many years is that because the supply side is not designed in a way that it could attack the problems which all these excluded populations, you know, have. So Karandaaz is created. It runs a supply side program where we design all these interventions. It is a not-for-profit. So everything that we do is presented or in the end provided as a public good. So the data portal that Meher talked about and everything else that Shumaila talked about, you know, the key message is that we are a not-for-profit organization. We have some guardrails in terms of we need to preserve our capital, whatever capital that we deploy, so that we can redeploy it for further initiatives.
Right.
But the whole point is that there is a market failure. And then now we're trying to demonstrate to the market by creating innovative new models of how to lend, how to invest into women businesses. And this data portal is a public good which has been offered. And this is for anybody, anybody outside Pakistan as well. If they want to research about targeting a segment, or they want to research about economics or ongoing trends of Pakistan, they should reach out to this data portal, log in there, and see, and in fact, give us feedback, how to improve that. We really want this to be the one-stop shop for everybody who's interested to do any development work which is related to financial sector or otherwise. So that's the whole sort of name of the game of Karandaaz, and that's the reason of existence as well, other than the mission, the vision that we have, that we want to see economically empowered Pakistanis.
No, this is fantastic. Thank you, Rehan. That brings a lot more color along with the specific initiatives that we were talking about. What I wanted to kind of understand so far, how long has Karandaaz been active in Pakistan?
2014.
Yeah.
It was set up in 2014.
Okay. Okay. So not too long, about 8 years, almost 8 years now.
Is
Great.
that?
And what are some of the changes that you've driven in Pakistan? Is there anything that's visible right now that maybe we don't know as the diaspora that Karandaaz has influenced in Pakistan?
Sure. If I can start, so I can talk about the payment side, and then of course, SHUMAILA and MEHR could talk about the other changes that have been brought in women benches and other areas.
Sure.
So on payment side, the biggest issue in Pakistan was that there was no infrastructure, the payments infrastructure, which was designed in a way that it could include the segments that I talked about, which are excluded. Which basically means that if you are rich, if you are affluent, if you can afford high fees, you could use the modern digital rails which are available in Pakistan.
Right.
But when it comes to segments which are, if not poor, relatively on the lower side, lower economic side, you would actually face that the banks actually slap fees on transactions which are prohibited and which do not sort of allow all these segments to really become part of the overall digital journey.
Right.
So what we did was we have worked with State Bank of Pakistan, and we have created a payments infrastructure, which is created by the funding which was provided to us by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And you might have heard the name RAST as well. This was launched by the Prime Minister earlier, at the start of this year.
Right.
This pro-poor payment system is designed in a way that it delivers a very low cost structure, so that, if you even for payments for free, the banks could absorb that cost. So that's one key development, that has happened. On the other side, we work with the key government institutions. These are public institutions who interact with a large number of Pakistanis. So there are two examples of it. One is Benazir Income Support Program. So we have provided a number of technical assistance, where we have helped them improve the design of the program, improve the delivery of the, cash disbursement, that they do. And we are also very heavily engaged with National Savings of Pakistan. Most of the Pakistanis, would be familiar with it. So our parents, used it excessively and buy savings certificates or defense savings certificates or prize bonds. This is an institution that basically issues those certificates. So we have helped them digitize, and they are now on the brink of issuing a debit card for the policyholders, solving some of those issues that the policyholders do not have to come to the branch and get the money or get the profit. So they could, sitting in their home, use a debit card to move funds from one account to another, or even walk to an ATM and get a disbursement whenever they want. Other than that, on the private sector, we basically engage with fintechs, something you and I talked about.
Right.
There, our program is to seed innovation and catalyze any further innovation that needs to happen. And we do that by seeding funding in innovative and disruptive ideas. So we have provided grant to about more than 13 or 14 fintechs so far. And some of them have gone ahead and created business models and created products in Pakistan, which have then helped other banks to go down their cost or extend the reach of their customers, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also do specific projects in conjunction with the private sector. And these days we are doing projects on value chains, because in Pakistan, a lot of they are all cash based. So
Right.
we are working with some of the entities in Pakistan trying to digitize sort of those. The whole idea is either to build infrastructure for the country or to digitize or help digitize the key government institutions. And in the private sector, our objective, our impact is to seed innovation and to catalyze innovation. And then it is up to the private sector to take that innovation forward however way it sort of takes. So that's something, on what we're doing on the digital side and the key. So
that's really good.
I'd like to
Go ahead, Meher.
I'd like to add a little bit on the regulatory side. So, Karandaaz has also been involved in when the Ministry of Commerce was developing the first e-commerce policy. Karandaaz was represented in the National E-Commerce Council. We contributed to that. Now the Ministry of IT is in the process of introducing a Personal Data Protection Act, which is going to have a very significant impact on the financial sector of this country. So that is an area that we have been involved in. We have commented on the draft that was put out for public comment. We ensured that both the financial sector regulators, that is the central bank, as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission, that they sort of are involved in the process and also give their feedback to the Ministry of IT on that important regulatory piece which is going to be coming out. Then in addition to that, we have worked with the SECP to develop a regulatory framework for equity crowdfunding. So crowdfunding was not a regulated area, it was frowned upon. And now the Securities and Exchange Commission has got a regulatory sandbox in place. And there are two crowdfunding initiatives which are being tested in that regulatory sandbox. And like I mentioned earlier, with the State Bank, we've gone through this lengthy process. It's taken more than a year and a half now, but we're developing this regulatory framework for digital banks in Pakistan. So, we're hoping to have entities like Monzo, like N26, like Starling, these type of entities beginning to come up in Pakistan.
That's really good to hear, and it's great because what it is it's almost like we get to skip a lot of the infrastructure requirements and then really bring value to the average person, because I think we're now seeing such a high penetration of smartphone and data connection. So you can skip the computer in and of itself, right? Basically, and go straight to the platform. That's very, very interesting. I guess and SHUMAILA, is there any other this is really interesting and cool because you guys are really trying to solve structural issues, right, that are preventing kind of breakthroughs for the population at large. I'm also curious and intrigued because I've been in that world, and I know you have that women's startup initiatives and things like that. SHUMAILA, can you share with me a couple of maybe women-led tech stories if you have that you see are starting to take root, because I know that's of great interest to people here too.
So The support that we provide to women-led businesses under Women Ventures, it started off as a women entrepreneurship challenge. And over 3 years, it's evolved and now it's become a full-fledged program. And we are supporting them on a regular basis. So these businesses don't have to wait for a specific window in a year to apply. So anytime when they're ready, they can come to us for support. The portfolio is about 18 businesses right now. By June, we're expecting it would expand to 30 businesses. Of the 18 businesses, about 5 or 6 are either tech focused or tech is a strong element of those. The rest don't have a strong tech element. They're regular, small businesses that are focused on either manufacturing or service end of it. But with the tech-based businesses, it's quite interesting, the ones that have come up. One or two have come up from the startup phase. The rest have taken the small business approach. They have been established for a couple of years, and now they are at the revenue stage, and they want that injection to grow. So we have provided that support. They are expanding. The ones that have come through the startup space, that's quite interesting as well, because they're already very familiar with the financing options out there, how they want to grow their business. So they're already trained, so they're familiar with our instruments, and this capital injection really helps them to expand to the next stage and expand their operations. There's one business that we're supporting, it's called WebWorks. They're e-commerce focused, so they develop e-commerce platforms for other businesses. Okay. So it's not, that's their key focus. They provide that service, but they also provide that service to other businesses, and they're connected to some really big retail houses in Pakistan. So it's a very exciting business that we're working with. They're also expanding into other areas. So once you're tech focused, the potential is enormous. So they can branch out into any area. So they've got the main product and they're just playing with that now. The other tech focused businesses are also using e-commerce. So they're not developing a product of their own, but they have a e-commerce retail focus, and they're using that to expand their businesses, be it in the beauty space or fashion or retail. But the interesting bit is that other than WebWorks, others do have a beauty or fashion service focus when they're using e-commerce. We're quite open to supporting other tech-based businesses as well. We're sector agnostic, so it really it doesn't hold us back from supporting such businesses. And we feel they bring a lot of value addition to the portfolio because they can support the tech needs of other businesses in the portfolio, which they have, be it from a marketing perspective, be it from a retail perspective, be it from finding financial solutions or ERP solutions for these businesses. So they bring in a lot of value addition to our portfolio as well.
Interesting. Oh, that's really good to hear. And I think that's something, obviously for the diaspora, that's something that always is very important for us to see, grassroots initiatives. And what's interesting is we do see so many of them, right? There's a lot of people on an individual basis that are doing lots of different things that are all good. It's good to see that there's an organization that's looking at the bigger picture and taking a longer term, more structured view. And happy to hear about this. And I guess we're coming up towards the end of our time. Before we conclude, I did want to ask Rehan and SHUMAILA, MEHR, what is the ask of the diaspora, if any? Is there anything you'd want from people here?
Okay, so from funding perspective, we have these institutional donors. So definitely, not something that we are looking for. But I think, especially on the tech side and on the payment side, we do see that the local talent, a lot of time they don't have the international exposure. So if there's anybody, listening to this video cast and has a play in payments, I think this is the time to come to Pakistan.
Sure.
If you want to create your own company and create your own fintech, I think, the ground is being now leveled. And there are a lot of other initiatives that central bank has taken in terms of easing out formation of a company with a foreign shareholding, remittances, taking money out of Pakistan, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole ease of doing business sort of indicator, in my opinion, is improving. So if there's anybody out there who has a play in the payment side, I think they should. And if they want to get involved in the development of the ecosystem, they could definitely reach out to us. We have some informal communities that we sort of facilitate in terms of discussions, in terms of what needs to be done. So on the payment side, so if there's anybody who wants to play an active part, you're more than welcome to connect with us. Or if somebody wants to initiate a business in Pakistan on the payment side, there are a lot of investors who reach out to us to seek our input. We do position ourselves and as the honest broker. So as I said, we are a not-for-profit, so we have no other motive but that the financial inclusion should actually increase. So if there's anybody who wants to leverage on our resources, I would welcome them to connect with us and use us.
Excellent.
So Farooq, I see the engagement of diaspora at 3 levels. One would be for market linkages. So the businesses that we're supporting, many of them intend to, or they want to go international, but they don't have that link or the anchor in the international market that would help them grow. And the initial stages, they really do need that support because they don't understand that market very well. So that's one, they could help develop those linkages. Secondly, the businesses that we're supporting, by the time they exit this program, they'll be a lot more formal and their corporate governance structures would be much better. They would have had exposure to a convertible debt instrument, so they understand debt and equity both at the same time. So if they want to invest in these businesses going forward, they would be raising funding. So that's another area. Third, for us as Karandaaz would be institutional partnerships. So the diaspora are heading and they're, holding senior positions in very important organizations now. And we do look for institutional partnerships to improve our service in terms of business development support that we provide to these businesses, mentoring, also expertise in some very niche areas. And that kind of knowledge we may not have at a very good level in Pakistan right now. So it would be really good if they get engaged through their institutions or in individual capacity if they so wish. So those are the 3 areas that I feel they can really contribute to going forward.
Right. Thank you for that.
I think my colleagues have covered it well. Nothing more to add.
Okay, good. Well, it's been a real pleasure having the 3 of you with us. And I think this is going to be a great way for us to share the story, of what Karandaaz is doing in Pakistan. And, it's great. We hope to attract more institutions like this. Not that I want you guys to have more competition. I would love to see Pakistan flourish faster. So from that perspective. So with that, thank you all very much for your time. I really appreciate this. And we look forward to, continuing to spread the good news about what you're doing.
Thank you, Farooq. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
And to our audience, as you can see, we continue to try to bring you unique and different perspectives of what's going on in Pakistan. And with that, continue, please. We need your support. Like, share, and subscribe on all of our social media channels. Continue to circulate our videos. And with that, I bid everybody Allah Hafiz.